Usually I'm outside and I'm all summery and I'm already talking about a million things. And I wasn't going to hop on tonight, but I thought, what a great opportunity to actually hop on and speak about what happens when your day is not perfect. What happens when you don't feel great? What happens when you just want to put your pajamas on and go straight to bed? What happens when you get flu type symptoms? And if you know me, my name is Sky. I was sick most of my life. I had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed, and I share my story, my journey, lots and lots of different things about my journey so that other people cannot suffer as much as I did. And I do. Well, not do. I'm usually happy. That's why I wanted to still come on with like I woke up feeling terrible this morning. I don't usually eating a raw food diet. I always feel amazing until I don't. And if I don't, usually it's mast cell activation syndrome. And I've spoken a lot about how I am symptom free of histamines, of mast cell activation. I eat a raw food diet. I have a high omega-3 diet. I eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables, and that seems to have stopped. And I actually got a woke up with the cold and flu symptoms this morning without mast cell symptoms. So that's a win right there. But what do you do when you wake up and thank you, and you wake up and you don't feel great? And you've got to get through a day. You've got clients, you've got to make reels, you've got to reply to emails. What do you do? Especially someone like me who was sick most of my life. And I hate being sick. And you've got to get through your day. And what I tend to do in this situation is I make sure I plan rest is first off. I make sure I stay hydrated. I've drunk so much coconut water today. I've had so much fruit. That made a huge difference. I saw a chiropractor, which helped. But I don't want to self sabotage. So I don't want to like push through a day with like excessive amounts of caffeine. And I'm ready for bed, like as you can see. And this, if you're wondering, I've done reels and I've shown how you do this. I've also done videos how I curl my hair. And, I've done that already. So I'm all ready for bed. But today was tough. Like, I did not have mast cell activation syndrome. But when you wake up and you don't feel good, it's like my brain goes back to all the things I used to do when I was really sick. And a lot of that was caffeine, medication. All I have to do is work hard for other people. Whereas now I'm like trying to keep my mind in what is going to help me, benefit me, hydrate me, give me nutrition. Yes, I'm Australia. Um, so yeah, I'm in Australia. So I wanted to still show up, not only because I've been showing up here every night, sometimes twice a day, sharing a lot of my journey, how I was sick most of my life. And I wanted to still jump on tonight and for myself and also just be real that some days aren't good. Some days are tougher than others. And it's about doing things that make you feel good. So, first time in the chat. Hey, Patrick, you're watching from New Zealand. Hey, so I get on and I usually share a lot of my journey, and I was sick most of my life. I healed myself with raw food diet. I've had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. I now eat a raw food diet, and usually I'm really healthy. Besides, I had a flare up of mast cell activation syndrome, which I eat a very low histamine diet but high omega-3 diet at the moment. If you want to take a look at that, I've linked a folder in the description so you guys can see that. And I help many people heal. I'm a health coach. But I was saying that when you wake up with like cold and flu symptoms and you don't feel good, what do you do? And I just think you've got to take care of yourself. No matter what you're doing in your life, you take care of you. Thank you for the nice compliment. Pretty like an angel. Well, actually, today I just don't feel the best, but I still wanted to come on here and, well, share that, even when you don't feel your best, you can still get through a day. And I think it gets harder for me because I was sick most of my life. And anytime like I wake up and don't feel well, I'm like, how am I going to cope? And I think you've got to stay in a positive mindset. Actually, the best I felt all day today was when I'm on holidays too. I seem to keep getting sick when I go on holidays, and people say to me it's because whenever I stay in a fancy hotel and I very grounded at home. I'm outdoors a lot. I eat very natural food. I'm in a hotel, and when you think about it, you're around levels and levels of Wi-Fi, excess like cleaning products, which I don't have in my environment. And then all of a sudden I wake up and it's not mast cell activation. It's like tightness everywhere. Like I can feel the flu coming on. But the best I actually felt was when I went by the pool into on the ground. I took my shoes off and I laid on the grass and I got some sunshine and I did go in the pools. The pools don't make me feel like good. I'm more of an ocean girl, but there's no oceans in Cairns. Well, there is, but there's crocodiles, there's sharks, and there's a whole lot of stuff you just don't want to go in there. So, um, yeah. So, but I think it was an accumulation. So I got up and I had my morning matcha because that makes me happy. But I'm like, my brain just kept going, how am I going to get through today? I just want to go back to bed. So I did rest. I had lots of hydration. I had cucumber juice and celery juice, and there was an apple in that as well. I had 3 of those juices, so it was about a liter. And then I had my high omega-3 meal, which was like cabbage and flaxseed and chia and salt. And then I had lots of berries. And I noticed when I had the hydrating fruits, which I know when I'm not well, I felt a lot better. Then I got 4 coconuts cracked open, had more hydration, and that with the sunlight, I really felt good. So, um, yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Oh, thank you. Thanks for your subscription. Yes, definitely subscribe and like. But yeah, that is how I got through my day with food. Another way is I rest. I rest as much as I can, like especially being able to work from home. I think that is an option for many people. But if not, I say if you're in an office and you're not feeling well and you've got to push through your day, spend some time outdoors. So find some sunlight. Even if you're not feeling unwell, is spend your time outdoors. Oh my gosh. It's like usually I'm like feeling so much better, but it's interesting how as well when the night comes, I never feel as great. But I think it's okay on your healing journey if you go through things like having cold and flu symptoms or you don't feel good. You just have to, it's more of the universe wanting you to look after yourself, right? Um, I'm getting asked some strange questions tonight, but yes, thanks for your subscribing. Um, but also, what's really interesting, when I was sick most of my life, I actually didn't get any colds and flus. So I had congenital diseases. I had mast cell activation syndrome. I was in hospitals a lot having surgeries for chronic pain. I've had psychiatric problems. But back to when I was in bed all the time, I never got colds and flus. And people always asked, like you must get sick all the time while you're in bed. And apparently, doctors say that when your system is so overloaded already with inflammation, you may have all these viruses, but it will not respond because you're so run down. So a lot of people don't get anything when they're chronically ill. So maybe this is me being well and having to experience the world as it is, like a normal person, where normal people get colds because the body needs to get rid of something. So, um, yeah. Well, let me see if I can be my own moderator, and let things go. So, yeah. Okay. So usually when I come on these lives, I will share something of my journey. And I think that's a good place to start with my journey is that when I'm chronically ill, I don't get sick a lot. And I think that that's something maybe I'm having to experience now and I'm still going to share about what's going on. But if I actually have the time and don't have to work, I will usually shut everything off. So if I'm not well, I usually shut everything down. And that means I won't get on my phone like this. I won't look on social media. I usually tend to fast. If I have cold and flu symptoms and I have to work, I will not fast because I notice I feel even worse. I know a lot of people really like fasting for healing, but for me, that's not that's not something that I always like to do, especially if I've got clients. I want to feel good. So I guess that's different. if I've got to work and push through a day. If not, I will also usually go get a massage. I went to the chiropractor. Get outside, people. The electromagnetic field on the earth will heal us. I think um, that's really important to do, and which I did today. So, yeah, I guess I just wanted to show up for myself tonight and come on because I had been coming on most nights. Um, oh, the Maldives is a beautiful place. Anywhere outdoors is a beautiful place. The other thing I also do when I'm not well, and I haven't done tonight and I should, is ginger. Is grab ginger, blended it up, do some lemon. I'm staying away from histamine foods at the moment, and that's a histamine liberator. But gargling ginger, I will put that blended ginger water in tea. I actually think I've got some ginger tea in the hotel here, so I might grab that. Ginger's amazing, fruit's amazing, coconut water's amazing, getting your feet on the earth is amazing, getting a massage, seeing a chiropractor, what I did today. I found like some of my old neck pain has kind of come back, especially when I was on the plane, that pressure around my face. Also, when I went in the ocean, I went to the Great Barrier Reef the other day. And going to the Great Barrier Reef, I went underwater and the pressure, I think, from the helmet, I wonder if that can set something off. So I already had a chiropractic session booked in, and gosh, I felt so much better afterwards. It also helps with my cold. But I think they're the main ones, right? So you get ginger tea, getting outside, lots of rest, and give yourself time. We, as a society, we tend to keep pushing through things. So instead of today doing 100 things, I worked with clients, I did my content, I replied to emails, but in between, I would rest. Rest is like key. So anytime you can rest and look after yourself, you're telling your body that you love you and you want you to heal. Yes, garlic, ginger, lemon, actually, that's like a perfect combo, and you blend that up. It's amazing what those astringent raw foods actually capable of doing. I've seen people put onion and garlic on their feet and their socks at night. Do I have? I'm very limited. I haven't got that many feet. I think I've got onion. I've seen mums on TikTok have kids who they've had on like penicillin for weeks or all sorts of antibiotics to help get rid of their cold or flu, and their chest cough, they're in chest infection, can't get rid of it. They'll start putting onion in their socks at night. The child will stop coughing finally, and the child's been on so many different things, and it'll start to heal. And I just think the power of food, we have that not even tapped in a tiny bit, right? Um, that the power of putting food, and people use potatoes as well. And I think, like, when I was eating a whole fruit diet, like a lot of fruits, and I would use the fruits and raw foods like directly on my skin. Like, you can get so much out of them. We have no idea. We just think we need, like, literally, I grew up thinking that as you got older, you had to cleanse, tone, and moisturize your skin. Like, you don't. Like, I mean, you can, but I actually find less is more. I just put some moisturizer on. I'll wash with whatever's around if I need to. And usually I just use coconut oil if I've got any makeup on. But we think we need all these things to heal. And that's why I think a raw food diet is so good. You can just start with that, right? And where's my coconut water? I didn't bring coconut water for myself. I drank 4 coconuts. Like, everyone always thinks I'm so strange because they're like, do you drink all this? I order 4 green juices and 4 coconuts. And I'm like, yes, because that's how I feel good. That's how I get well. Tonight is water. Hey, I'm sharing how today was not the best of a day. And I wanted to come on here and still share it because I wanted to be real. I wanted to be real that some days you wake up with like a cold and a flu, and pray that I wake up tomorrow and don't have that. I've already taken my nightly magnesium, so I may just pass out any second now. Thoughts on Diet Coke? So I think a lot of people default to Diet Coke, and this is this brain thing as well, where we think healthy food or better food options have to taste like not so great. So, like, people usually go to Diet Coke because they're like, there's so much sugar in Coke. And, I just don't think that Coke or Pepsi, either way, is that good for you. but it's like, what are you actually trying to get out of it? So that, as I said, most people have gone to it because they think it's a better option than Coke, and that feeds into the brain. To be healthy has to go through pain. So I think having, if you're going to have like Pepsi, get a juice. Even if you put mineral water in it for bubbles. If you like bubbles, put some mineral water in it. But if it was Coke and I was craving that, I'd probably do like a pomegranate, pineapple, and cherry drink, maybe, and some ginger if you want like a bit of bite to it. Um, because I know that might sound strange, but it's still going to be a dark juice. It's still going to be tangy. Um, you're going to get a whole lot of nutrition. I think like a lot of people thinking they're getting healthy is avoiding nutrition, because a lot of it, they're like, there's no calories in this, but there's also no nutrition. And when I changed my lifestyle, I was blown away. Like, I started with no hair. Look at me now, putting my hair in this at night. Um, I started with like no hair, grew it back because everything I decided to put inside of me had nutrition. So I wanted to put foods, um, everything. And I think that's a different way. A lot of people, what they're putting in their body is to avoid what is calories. And they end up just putting a whole lot of chemicals with nothing in it. And it's a lot for the body to process. Um, so yeah, you sound like you're from London. I'm from Australia. I'm from Australia. I'm in Sydney. Um, yeah. Oh, I like that. Lemon water, turmeric, and elderberry. Is that elderberry? Um, that sounds really good. You can actually create some insane shots. So I went to Bali and went to a day bar or a day club with my sister and her partner, and they ordered like whatever they ordered, alcohol. I was having shot of coconut water, shot of spinach, shot of turmeric, shot of ginger. I had a coconut water, and guess who danced longer than the 20-year-olds who were drinking cocktails on the dance floor? Me. And everyone's like looking at me thinking, well, what she had? Nature and nutrients. We forget that when you give yourself sustained energy, you get a sustained release. So everyone's there getting like what essentially is like high off alcohol, and they're getting like a burst of energy. But that's it. And then they feel like crap. It's like, that's how I lived life for raw foods. Burst of energy, feel like crap. Burst of energy, feel like crap. And now that I have nutrients, living foods, life force, I just feel sustained all the time, constantly. But it's also, that sounds like that lemon water, turmeric, and elderberry. Like, I feel like you could go to a bar and order that and have like maybe a piece of grapefruit put on the side. And then you come away and just feel better, feel energized. But it's definitely doable in Bali. Welcome back. Are your friends Spanish? No. Uh, Went to Bali. That's a strange thing to say. Sometimes I read comments and I don't know why people write them. I am not 50 yet, but I will be 50 in about 7 years. I do have curries. So I have curries with raw foods. So I will chop up the raw foods. I will mix together different spices, different flavors, put the curry in. What's a good one? Like corn, peas, carrots, cauliflower, maybe some pre-marinated mushrooms. And then the sauce would be like, I love hemp seed, flax, curry powder. I love fresh galangal, ginger, garlic, turmeric, is it garlic? Love garlic. A squeeze of lemon juice and a little squeeze of orange to be sweeter. Maybe a couple dates, tomatoes, carrots, a good one in there too. Blend all that up, make it slightly warmed, and stir it through the vegetables. So good. Maybe have it with cucumber noodles. Um, and the benefit is you feel amazing. When you don't cook your food, you don't have a crash. And I don't even think I knew cooked food gave me a crash until I didn't eat it anymore, until there was no cooked food, at least for 3 days, going through my body. And all of a sudden, I'm just constant. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And with someone with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and being in bed for like 15 years straight, 25 years all up, 32 years sick, it was amazing to know you could just be constant. Like, you could literally just feel good all the time. Hey, Jennifer. Thank you. I'm so glad. I actually just made myself hungry. I'm actually in my pajamas because I had a bit of a rough day and I wanted to still come on and just be so for real that every day may not be um, perfect like a reel. And I try to keep my reels real. As they are. Like when things come up, I make a reel on them. But I guess I also want to try and get on. I can hear my voice going a little. When I'm not feeling the best, like raw foods keep me as well as possible. And as I said, I'm not having a mast cell activation flare, which is amazing for me, especially when a cold or flus come up. But I have said when I tend to travel, I don't get colds or flus except when I travel and I get in hotel rooms, which I think use a lot of cleaning products. There's a lot of frequencies. You've got every room's attached to Wi-Fi in here and you're very ungrounded. I seem to end up getting some sort of cold or flu. But now I'm talking about my recipes and now I'm hungry. And if anyone wants to look at my recipes, there's lots and lots of recipes on my reels and I share lots. So, so eating raw foods gives you consistent energy levels. Yes. Like it's nothing. I've been on all sorts of different food diets. I was cooked food vegan. I was eating like higher raw vegan. I've done paleo. I've done all these diets that nutritionists have put me on, which have been plant based, or there's like anti candida diets where it's like whole foods. Nothing is like raw foods. Like you literally, and if I start to have, it's not cooked food, but if I start to have too much like tamari or dehydrated foods or something, I don't know why that screen dulled. Um, you literally energy drops, and the whole universe just looks completely different when you eat raw foods. Like I know hydration is a huge part of it, but it's like it's just the interface is just singing at you all the time. And for someone who's been sick most of their life, and then the first experience is like when I'm 40 and I'm getting out of bed and it's spring and I'm eating all this fresh food. It was literally like walking around being like, I was mind blown that the universe is actually so beautiful that I live in. And I'd had 9 psychiatric visits in hospitals. I've been scheduled like 4 times. I've had 7 organs removed, I think more. I've had my stomach removed, duodenum removed, almost died, multiple blood transfusions. I've had chronic or constant surgeries for pelvic and hip pain, and eventually it ended up with psych problems. I started drinking 3 months before I found 3 or 4 months before I found raw foods. Nothing. I've been on massive amounts of opioids like fentanyl patches in cardiac units, having ketamine. I've had Botox in my spine, local anesthetic in my spine, release surgeries, nerves, glands, full hysterectomy, tonsils, adenoids removed. Wisdom teeth's pretty normal to have removed. Um, but I've been through it. Nothing is like the feeling of raw food. Put aside that it healed me. You feel so good. Um, Yes. Yes, tap the like, subscribe, guys. Do you eat raw almond butter or raw chocolate, like raw treats? Okay, that's a great question. So at the moment, there's a folder attached. There's in the description what I am eating at the moment. The mast cell activation folder has what I'm eating at the moment. But before I went on this, I make my own butters. I just put them in a food processor. I prefer peanut butter, and I know people like don't eat peanuts. There's some sort of toxins on them, but I know the guy who grows them, and he hulls them, and I just it's very different eating raw made homemade peanut butter. There's no oil or anything in it. But even so, when I first started and healed myself, I was having almond butter. Chocolate, yes, you'll see my 4 ingredient chocolate recipe, chocolate truffles. I find though it sets off my mast cell activation syndrome. Um, so I try use carob in recipes, but I will use raw cacao. But as I said, it's high histamine. That's the only reason I don't have it. My suggestion is if it means you stay high raw, you're doing salads and smoothies and juices and like nice whole easy recipes, and then a few times a week you're having almond butter and treats, go for it. Like it's like when people are like, you're not really raw if you're having this, and raw chocolate. To me, you want to know my classification as a raw vegan is people having raw material that's plant-based and vegan. I believe what I did for 2 years where I was high fruit, where literally even very little greens or veggies, is more frugivore or fruitarian. Is a long sustaining raw vegan needs as many nutrients as you can get. So we need to not look at chocolate and almond butter as problematic, but what are we getting out of it? I talked about this last night. The more we sit in love and appreciation and what can we get out of something, as soon as we come at something, if we come at it with fear, that's already a problem. So I say, it's eat like really the foods that make you feel the best mostly, which is usually fresh salads, fresh fruits, fresh juices and smoothies. But then if, you just like a normal person, unless you're in deep healing, and that's only for a small period, we're not healing forever, is you're just like the normal person where it comes Saturday night, make yourself some gourmet raw food. Sunday afternoon, have that raw treat that you baked on, or made in the dehydrator on Saturday. I structure my raw life exactly. Besides, at the moment, I'm doing something for my mast cell activation, but I structure it as every other human. It's not possible. We are human. We want the Thai food, but just make it raw on a Friday night after we worked our butt off all week. So that's how I do my raw life. And everyone's at a different stage, but long term, you want to have almond butter and chocolate in. Who's living without chocolate? Um, Bill said, "Hi, cutie. Congrats on your amazing journey." Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm celebrating with water. Mm. Um, hey, from Canada. Morning, Brazil. How do you afford the cost of eating healthy and hospital visits and meds? Well, eating a raw diet means I don't pay for hospital visits or medications anymore. So that's why I was on disability payments with no connection to family, when I discovered raw foods. Well, essentially, I had no carers anymore because I'd really hit rock bottom and I couldn't cook my vegan food. So I ate it raw and I was like, bing, wow, I don't need anything but raw food and to pay for my rent and my internet bill on my phone. And that's how I got myself well. I was on disability. I've been sick my entire life. And when I got on raw foods, I stopped drinking, smoking, vaping, didn't need medications. The more raw foods I got in, I got up, started a website. By the end of the year, I was working working in disability. I was helping other people like myself, like I was. And then I started to become a health coach and do recipe ebooks. And the only time I've used a doctor, and we can go to a medical centre in Australia, was when I got shingles, and I still wouldn't have the antivirals. I just got some pain relief for the first week because it was so bad. Shingles is not comfortable. And I broke my toe, and I think the x-rays for that were covered by Medicare in Australia. And I had pain relief, I think the first 10 days for that because I displaced it because I kept running on it until I could barely walk. So that's all there. All my money, if I'm going to invest in something, even over clothes now, to me, that is not worth like coconut water. Coconut water makes me feel good. So I spent, like, keep looking at my clothes when I get up in the morning. I'm like, Sky, you have to go shopping. I'm like, no coconuts or raw food because they make me feel like this. Like I'm sick. I have a flu or something going on right now, but I'm still like excited. Even thinking about raw foods makes me excited. Hey, party boy. Oh, good. Thank you. Uh, I'm pudgy with ADHD. What can I do? I was on amphetamines for 15 years with my ADHD. I did it like when I had SSRIs in, which were in for chronic pain. That also helped me focus. But it made me, it's only like you feel okay for a second and then you're not okay. So it's not like it fixed it. So I feel like raw foods was just amazing. And the higher fat diet seems to help me with focus. The omega-3s in chia and flax, as I've said in my lives, is all of a sudden I've got a tunnel of focus. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that you could actually like have focus. Like as in like I'm actually not here present. I've actually gone down a rabbit hole and read something and used my imagination and I'm like come out of it and I'm like whoa. And that was raw food diet definitely helped me, but you can have a look in the description. There's a folder there about mast cell activation. Histamines are involved in most psychiatric disorders and inflammation. And what I'm eating at the moment, it's very, very, I'm not eating like this forever. But I'm eating a high omega-3 from chia and flax, ground fresh. I'm eating a lot of cruciferous. I'm having juices, coconut water, and low histamine. It's really helping with my gut health, which really means that it helps my ADHD. But if you're just starting out and you're eating a standard diet, I would just start including more plants and less chemicals. Chemicals are the worst for ADHD. Like Diet Pepsi or any of those like preservatives. Oh my God. Like as much as we're told that growing up, they're like the cause and they're a problem. They really are a problem. Getting rid of those will definitely help. But a whole food, plant based diet. And you know what? I used my knowledge that I wouldn't stay on a raw food diet because of my ADHD. I'm like, I'll get distracted and want to do something else. So I used a lot of chili, a lot of spice, a lot of like different food textures and combinations. And I put lots of different foods in the bowl because my brain, it needs like lots of stimulation. How many miles do you run daily? Do you compete in races? So I haven't been running as much lately. I have been walking more. I walk 10K to 12K. 12K. Sorry, I work, yeah. Well, that's how many steps it is. So it's about 10 kilometers, 8 to 10 kilometers. I walk about 10,000 to 12,000 steps a day. Um, and I used to run, and I don't know, I was running 5Ks a day plus a Pilates class a day on raw foods, and I used to be in bed. So the raw foods are amazing, but at the moment I haven't been doing it as much. Um, I don't know. I think maybe there's different seasons for different things, but I was doing 5Ks a day. So fish oil is omega-3, yes, but to make the fish oil, you have to use a lot of food processing, and it goes rancid and it just ends up omega-6. So you can get a lot of omega-3s. I did used to overdose on omega-3s. I used to have like 3 fish oil tablets. This is before I was vegan. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as primrose oil, 3 a day, 3 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 3 of vitamin E capsules. It did help me, but it doesn't do what flaxseed and chia freshly ground does. It doesn't do what anything in its fresh whole form does. And yeah, people who are eating fish are really cooking it and you're denaturing it. So a lot of the omega-3 turns to omega-6. It doesn't mean you're not getting omega-3s, but I never got anywhere until I went raw. I know people like algae, which is what the fish eat. But even that, to process that becomes more omega-6. So you've got to have a lot of it. So I find even like flax oil, which is cold pressed from the fridge, works when my gut is bad and I can't get chia and flax in. But chia and flax, I just get the best results from. So people always say eggs are great protein, but it's only 6 grams per egg. I can only speak for women, and I'm vegan, so I don't eat eggs, but it's not huge. No person is actually eating a huge amount of eggs. Like, we're talking because people want a mega dose on protein. 6 grams is still good, but people are like saying, who are wanting like excessive amounts of protein, is you really got to eat a huge amount to get that huge amount, which I don't think you even need. I think balance. All I've noticed about my health is you need protein and you need carbs and you need fats and you need nutrients and you need greens and the more I get in, the better I do. And that's essentially, even though my diet might seem like at the moment it's restrictive, it's only because I'm histamine intolerant. But I generally feel stronger when I get lots of variety. Stem cell is good. Yes, stem cell is good, but so is having like a good lifestyle, I think. I am from Australia. I'm from Sydney. I'm in Cairns at the moment. And I'm in my pajamas because I'm not going to have like a really long life. I woke up with feeling a bit fluey this morning, which I've said happens when I travel. Every time I travel, it seems to happen. But I wanted to be real and be like, well, hey, every night I'm not like buzzing with energy, which I still have energy, but I just not as much. And I just feel heavy, congested. How long have you been vegan for? Have you ever had any thoughts of quitting veganism? That's a good question. I've been vegan since the end of 2018, the start of 2019, so 7 years. I've been raw vegan for 4 years. And in truth, never quit veganism. I've never had thoughts of quitting veganism. I've often thought when I've had flare ups um, on my raw journey, am I doing raw veganism right? I can't go back to cooked veganism diet or cooked plant-based diet, but the vegan part, non-negotiable. I actually worked really hard to become a vegan because I'd been through it already with my health, and all of a sudden I started. It's like an awakening or dark night of the soul. As you start realizing that at rock bottom you can't even move your limbs most days, Sky, and there's no animals eating you. You're not, I felt like most of my life I have this right to eat babies, other animals babies, and animals. Why? Like, it's not like, this is just so selfish of me. And to eat the vegan food in hospitals when they're putting you on psych meds which make you crave things, when the only pleasure you had each day was really food because you were so depressed from being sick your whole life, you're going through PTSD, your escape is food. So I worked really hard. But the journey is about myself. It's not to prove to anyone else. It's about what I wanted to do for myself and this planet. Um, and then the raw food didn't really have anything to do with animals because I wasn't eating them. That was to do with me and my health. But in doing the raw veganism, I could not really love animals like I do, or myself, until I went raw. Because now I've got this energy and I don't need things that are tested on animals as much, like huge amounts of medications and like being a problem to this planet when everyone on this planet is, most of these people, well, people are animals. So that was the raw part, that I was bettering myself again. Um, uh, when will your interview with Freely go live? So I haven't done the interview with Freely yet. It will go live I will announce it. You won't miss it. I will pre-announce it. If you're on my subscriber list or you follow me on YouTube, I will announce it. Or Instagram, I will announce when we're going to do that. I would read your book. Please consider doing it. Okay, here's the thing about the book is I feel like getting on here and sharing is helping me process even more, because it's such a huge thing that I want to do when I write a book about what I went through and what I was able to turn around. And it's changed when you've gone through so much trauma. The way you perceive it changes over time. So the more time I have, the more I'm able to put it in like a linear type form. Also, to write a book, I have to come back inside and spend like a huge amount of time by myself writing it. And that's what I did when I was sick. I was always alone. And at the moment, I'm like doing lives or I connect with people. So there's that part of it as well. But yeah, when I do it, I definitely want to do it properly, because I feel like this is helping people and sharing is helping people, and the pictures of how far I've come of helping people. So Party boy, it's okay to have a down day. It's great to be transparent and authentic on your journey, though. So props for that. That's what I wanted to do. Is I don't think a lot of people get intimidated by doing raw foods, or a lot of journeys, or even connecting with people based on the fact that they think influencers always, I don't even like the term influencers, but people who share online are always happy and everything about the raw food diet. They seem to be getting it right. And I feel like I'm getting my raw journey right for me, but I have days like this, and you guys don't get to see that. Even if I make a reel or a small post on a story, you're only seeing like a really small shot of when I probably feel the best out of the whole day, when I'm having like a downtime. Like I saw a reel, when I hurt my shoulder and I did I think 10 days on fruit a couple years back, when I got was it shingles? No, when I had a bad tooth and I did grapes for a period, and I try share there. But when you actually see me at the end of the day, literally in my pajamas before I'm about to go to bed, you're seeing me, and I can feel like it's just heavy and tight, and it is what it is. So I thought I would just still get on here for me as well, to know that it's nice to know that you can be real online, because that's what people want. They want relatable. It's not relatable because it's real life. Like, we don't feel good every second of every day. And this is what makes me human. So Nobody quits veganism unless you were never vegan to begin with, since it's not contributing to animal cruelty. Yeah, that's true. But I'm not going to judge someone for. I just think the more I judge, the more I sit in anger. And it's not my journey to comment on. I don't mind sharing where I'm at, but I've worked so hard on that aspect of it. Plus the thought of it, like I just, not even me working hard, like the thought of it for me, but anyone who goes back never really probably got there in the first place. And some people go back and forward. Look, even like, yeah, but it's a huge, if you go vegan, you're amazing. Like it's something where I want to give shout out to everyone who's gone vegan. I just don't want to focus on people who go back because, they haven't, I'm not sure why. But we're here to sit in support and light. And I think you can't make reels that say, I'm here. Well, you can. But people who are very vulnerable, it's how marketing works, right? People who are very vulnerable want to hear a call to action. Like they want to hear some tragedy and then a call to action. They want to know what to do. It's to inspire people that the answers for all of their life things they need to discover in life is inside of them, is only just reminding them, because a lot of people, if you ask them how they got through the hardest situations in their life, they've got a story to tell. People who get through divorce and surgeries, and there's no real or there's no influencer and quick answer that helps people. So hopefully by getting on here, being vegan, doing what I do, believing in others, other people will feel more motivated to go forward in their calling and their journey. Do you think non-vegetarian people should be stopped? I see life and spirit and source, like what you see in reality is all one. It's all the same. It's all splinters of God or source or nature. And it has purpose and drive. And think of each person as a little eyeball of source getting out there and exploring themselves, which is essentially what we are. We're eyeballs attached to a nervous system, and source is exploring. And there's different levels of that. And if source spat out identical vegetarians or vegans, is it wouldn't be bettering source and the planet. This is my interpretation, okay, of spirit and source and universe. It wouldn't better the cause, is diving deep, exploring denser versions and vibrations. Sorry, that's gone out. Let me see if I can. One sec here. Um, we need light. We need light. This light is not very good. Okay, let me see if I can get some light going here. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I think that in the nature of God and source and life in itself, it has to have denser versions of itself and higher versions. And maybe those higher versions have battles with themselves up high and low. And so it's not for me to even spend time. That's negative energy. Whereas I just want to raise my vibration for myself and for my soul and for God being in me. And for me to sit around and contemplate things like that is not gonna, it doesn't change anything. In fact, I'm almost when people get really spend any time in negative energy, it doesn't matter whether they think the outcome is going to become positive, it's still negative. It's acidic, it's just not great energy. So I believe in sharing our journeys and love, and in hopes that someone can love themselves enough to make sure what they put inside of them at any given time is elevating them. That's my take on life and people and where they sit eating. I don't think beating someone into submission actually makes them a vegan. Um, you'll find it's like when they banned alcohol. Wasn't there even more consumption? Because there's people who are just making massive amounts, having these massive parties, doing it behind the scenes. People would just do that. People want what other people stop them having because they haven't worked it out themselves. And once again, I believe that's just the nature of the God force or the God life. I want to become vegan, but my parents won't allow me. So I've heard this before, and remember that when your parents don't allow you, it's not because they're mean. Usually, it's because of the way the world's set up, and they're worried about you. So if that was me, I would ask my parents what their main concerns are. More than likely, it's going to be nutrients, proteins. Um, what else would it be? Just nutrient levels and proteins, and a misunderstanding by your parents. And but first off, ask your parents what their concerns are. Then have a good chat with GPT. GPT, is that what it is? I'm having a mental block here. Um, and get them, being young, if your parents are still stopping you, then you're young, you would know how to work AI. Get them to mine the internet for all the information your parents need. Chat GTP, that's what I want to chat GTP. Have a chat with them and say, look, my parents are worried. Because look, I will tell you, I was in the last time, one of the last times I was in hospital, is a nutritionist visited me. And this was the first time this happened. I said, well, I only just become vegan. And I said, I'm vegan. And they said, all the studies that they have now point to meat causing diabetes, meat causing Alzheimer's, meat. Just, he was rolling it off. I could barely talk. I was very sick. So that I was actually, but I didn't actually at that stage. It wasn't for my health. I literally was doing it because I didn't want to hurt animals. It was the small thing I could do when I was as sick as I was. That was what I was doing. And I remember, and I would never heard someone say, I guess I was very sick, but I never heard someone talk about veganism in that light. And that's a nutritionist. So it's actually, ChatGTP will mine the internet and find you every study that proves that it's inflammatory now and causing disease, meat. But so it's just your parents' misunderstanding. But I think with parents, if you come at them and like attack, you never get anywhere, right? You get much further by just giving them what they need. You don't know what they need. They need some information. And you'll probably find there's probably going to be studies that however old you are, that, I don't know, 14 or 16 or 17-year-olds do better. They'll probably find long term do better as veganism. And it's just a matter of you and ChatGTP sorting that out. Hi. Any advice for autoimmune thyroid disease, thyroid eye disease? So, what I've noticed is anyone that I've worked with as a health coach who has hormonal glandular issues with things like thyroid, pituitary, adrenal, is a low inflammatory diet is your first and foremost. Everything seems to self correct if you can lower inflammation. Now, I'd love to say a raw food diet does that, and it does, but some people can go inflammatory on that. So, it's about how you find a diet, a raw food or whole food plant based diet that suits you. And you just start to watch inflammation go in the body. When you start, so when I healed myself, it was the first time I never went in to treat something, because we fracture ourselves when we think it's actually just the thyroid, when the whole system to get the thyroid under that much pressure that it's dysfunctioned is already out. And you can't just fix the thyroid. You've got to fix the system which has caused the thyroid to have that much pressure, and that is you. And so there's no other way about it. With all my different health problems, anytime I've had a surgery or medication, is it just blows out somewhere else. You take out an organ and then another organ goes. You take out, you give medication for this problem and another thing goes. Is you have to fix the whole. And that's hard for people. We talk about that here on this live, that it's hard for people because we're so used to being fractured. Something goes wrong, rheumatoid arthritis, heart goes wrong, cardiologist, gut goes wrong, gastroenterologist. You ask a gastroenterologist, he's mentioned that your heart's been racing, and they'll send you to a cardiologist. Like, they won't actually connect the dots. I've been to doctors where I've had cold and flu symptoms. And so these doctors are doctors, and then they've gone to the next level, right, and become specialists. You mentioned cold and flu, I'll go to a GP for that. It's like they're completely in their own little compartment, and we reflect that because that's the education that we learn. But it's really, you have to start with the food, exercise, fresh air, good sleep, good people, good choices with what you ingest, like that. Like, you can't just sit around watching things which are like horror shows, or like things that are just not making you feel good over time. But a huge part to start is food. I couldn't get the sleep, the exercise, the fresh air, the grounding right until I got food right. And for me, that was raw food. Do you love fur coats? No, I actually, even when I see animal print clothes that are just cotton or faux fur, I, especially when I first went raw vegan, could not go near them. Um, I just am not drawn to it. I only worked 4 years of my life because I was so sick, and I worked for Australia's top fashion designer, Carla Zampatti. I was around fur, I was around all sorts of things, and you don't even notice it. And then once you go vegan, especially raw vegan, you walk in and see a leather couch, and it's like looking at a cow. Um, so even faux fur, sometimes for fun, but I just don't think I'm just, yeah, no. Um, Thanks for sharing. I'm a wounded Desert Storm veteran. Oh, good for you on what you've done though, and it'll come through. Suffer from phantom leg pain. It doesn't make sense to most people, and they think I'm faking it. I'm very angry. I've researched everything. Okay, I can talk on this. So I haven't had. I'm okay. Phantom leg pain. Okay, so with phantom pain, I was in chronic pain. I feel like most of my life, nobody believed me until my stomach got taken out. And even when I woke up from that surgery, the first thing I thought was, well, people will believe me now. Because I've been in chronic pain and had so many surgeries, missed so much school. And I just felt like everyone was looking at me and saying, I'm faking it, sky again, blah, blah, blah. Where in actual fact, here's a good example of phantom pain is I suffered more with psychiatric illness than I actually did when I actually had my stomach removed. It shows what the brain is actually capable of putting us through. Um, Also, whenever I've had surgeries and things removed, I will still feel like it's there. Like the stomach is, my body will go to eat food. When I first had my stomach removed, and I keep bringing it back up because the brain records what the structure of the body. It's like a schema in the brain; it maps everything out, and then you go to eat because you think you've still got a whole stomach, and the body has to relearn. And there's a problem, like a nerve problem that occurs when, especially when nerves are damaged, and especially when trauma is linked to it as well. When it's so strong, the body believes, whether it was a bullet hole in the leg or whether you injured it running, that it's still there. What's really fascinating about this, if you've researched it, have a look into mirror healing. I don't know what it's called exactly. So, what they do is someone will have a whole lot of pain in their. Okay, how is this done? So, they'll have a whole lot of pain in a limb. Okay. And what they'll do is a phantom limb pain. This is how they correct it. So, what they'll do is they'll feel like the arm is still there. So they'll put the arm here and a mirror there. So the brain all of a sudden will think it's got its arm back and see it. And when you move this hand, you've created a phantom limb here. It actually moves in the mirror. And by doing that, the brain thinks it's moving the hand with no pain. So I don't know what it's called, but it helps a lot with phantom limb pain doing this mirror work. Now, if you are back from Desert Storm, I reckon you could rig up your own. I don't know how unwell you are right now, but it's not hard to do, especially if you. I think at the start you need to work with an expert who can show you what exercises to do. But then I am so sure that you can get a box and a mirror and do it at home. But it's quite interesting because if you actually get someone and you slam so what they actually do is the mirror, I think, sits in the middle. I can't remember exactly for people who actually still have the limb and they need to work on pain. And they will slam a book down as if they're slamming it on your hand, and you'll actually feel the pain. I don't know how it's all done. It's quite interesting. The brain is, especially if wounds are done in trauma. But that's, yeah, you're very welcome. You definitely have it there. But even things like, I just find, like, I know raw foods are amazing, but hydration in the body does not, it seems to not really get in with water. We get a taste of it when we get infusions in hospital and someone gives you fluids, and all of a sudden you're like, what drug did you give me? And they're like, oh, it was just fluids, a bit of bicarb and salty water. And you're like, Whoa. But it's just the way our bodies are just run down, our guts are run down. The best way to get the hydration in is raw foods. Anytime I have raw foods, it's like the body recognizes it, and that helps with anything going on in the body. So, I mean, this is working with the brain. I still, when I'm on holidays, will always drink water from a wine glass. I feel like I'm treating myself more. I like to play around with what the brain can actually let me think I'm actually doing. So, um, what are you saying? Meat eaters are negative people. No, but that's a negative comment. No, I'm saying that everyone's on a different journey. The most high vibrational and connected to the universe I ever feel is I eat a raw food diet, but probably the most connected I feel is when I'm on juices, and I don't even live off juices. It doesn't mean that you do it. It just means I know a lot of my family. I don't not like my family. They all eat meat. My nieces eat meat. It's just life is harder. It's like you're always battling something when I was eating meat. Um, it got easier with vegan, but it's a totally different story when you're a raw vegan. It's like you are the universe. You're just kind of floating around. But no, um, you're definitely not negative at all. Uh, yeah, so I'm not staying long tonight. Well, I've been here for an hour. I do a live on my Fridays, so I think it's for the US. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm actually going to talk on what a raw lifestyle is and how you do it. I do that once a week, but that's going to go straight through streaming software. So I'm going to go to sleep and then I'll wake up and I'll do that in the morning, and I won't be in my pajamas and my hair will all be pretty and curly, and you guys will know why. You'll know that I put this in before I go to bed. I like tie it back and I put a oh, here we go. look how great I look when I sleep. Hang on. So I put this back here. I know I go on about my hair a lot on here, but I can't believe, since having a lot of nuts and seeds, how much all this, like I've got no like bald patches there anymore, which is so cool. This one's pretty much completely gone. Tiny bit there. There's still hairs there, but it's all that was like nothing. Now we've got stuff going on. So I put a bonnet on to protect my hair. So I will go to bed. Um, so So more, thank you, Party Boys, so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you for moderating. I'm glad it was a good time. I'm glad I got on here, even though I wasn't feeling the best. So have a good day, guys, and I will see everybody soon.